Hello, welcome to the Enchanted Circle Podcast, and welcome to our 12th episode. We are a new podcast of three best friends that have known each other since high school that love fantasy books. So here we are doing what we love most, which is obviously reading, theorizing, and having a great time together. From meeting in high school to reading Harry Potter, Twilight, and the Mortal Instruments series to now reading Fourth Wing and ACOTAR, we are all back to rereading Fourth Wing and Iron Flame to prepare for the upcoming release of Onyx Storm. So we created this podcast for the recap and to theorize together. I'm Carolina. Welcome to episode 12. We are covering chapters 35 through 41 of Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros. I hope you have a happy holidays. I am so excited to have a wonderful Christmas, especially my son's first Christmas. I hope everyone's holidays are amazing, filled with laughter, happiness, and surrounded by loved ones. This past weekend, I went to the city to see the tree with one of my friends, and it was so nice. And of course, we stopped by a bookstore because we couldn't resist. We hope you enjoy our podcast and have fun.
Hey, it's Bella. I've been at the stage now where I just want to give more than I want to receive. And, when people have been asking me, what do I want for Christmas? I'm just like, I don't know. And I think it's because what I want just can't be wrapped or put in a box, but instead experienced. It truly is a time to be present and be open to all the love. And amidst everything that is going on, it's so important to notice those purely good moments that will always be there. And I remember last episode I was saying I was not really in the Christmas mode, but this year when we were decorating our tree, I was certainly feeling it when me and my family were decorating it, and I got Charlie, who's my little old man, to choose the ornaments for us. I would have an ornament in each hand in front of him. And at first he was so lost, he didn't know what I wanted him to do. But then he began using his nose to point to which ornament, because I'd be like, choose, pick, choose. And then he used his paw. So it was so cute. We recorded it. I was so shocked. Now not only can he open the presents, he can now pick our ornaments. So yes, hope you guys enjoy this episode and hope you guys have a great and wonderful Christmas.
Merry Christmas Eve, guys. It's wonderful to spend the holidays with you. I feel so blessed to have you guys listening today and during this holiday week. I am Mexican, so that means we go all out tonight. And we all stay up pretty late celebrating with family. We even opened some presents tonight, but I like to keep tradition with my core 4 family and open some presents Christmas morning. Just enjoying the magical day. We don't really do much tomorrow other than watch Christmas movies and let the kids open some toys because I do like to hide some for a rainy day. I really love the magic of Christmas, and whether you celebrate or not, I hope you have a lovely holiday week.
We just have to mention content warnings. There will be spoilers for the entire book of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros, including all of Xaden's POV chapters. If you have not read any of these books and his new POVs, please come back once you do. We wouldn't want to spoil anything for you. We may mention interviews or posts from Rebecca Yarros, so spoilers with that. Fair warning, we will be quoting quite a bit of Fourth Wing and Iron Flame by Rebecca Yarros for this recap. This podcast is rated R due to the topics we discuss about this adult book. Also, we tend to curse a lot, so please be aware of children listening. Let's get into it.
Chapter 35. Quote, "The only signet more terrifying than an intensnick is a truthsayer." By Major Offendra's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant. Violet slowly starts to wake up in an underground location with unfamiliar voices around her. She hears someone say in a conversation that it's not their concern. They have to follow orders, and a woman saying, quote, "It is if she finds out," end quote. They are talking about Violet's mother, General Sorengale, who is currently stationed in Caladir. Violet realizes that she is strapped into a chair and being held in a prison cell underground, and remembers that Nolan gave her that poisoned lemonade and saw her satchel that contained one of the journals. She notices Nora, the woman who dumps her bag when she is ordered by Varish, leaning against the wall, looking a little concerned for her. Varish comes in the cell, ordering the jailer out, and Violet is panicking because she has no connection with Taryn or Xaden and is completely defenseless. Nolan comes in telling her that they just need to ask her a few questions, and V yells at him that she trusted him, always did. Like, how could he do this to her? He then says, quote, "Clear this up quickly and we can return to trusting each other."
It really breaks my heart because she did put all of her faith in him.
Yeah.
And like never thought he would go against her.
Yeah.
Even in other chapters, he's kind of talking to her in code about how he wouldn't betray her.
Yeah.
Why, again, is there a controlling signet somewhere here?
There's definitely something going on with him. And it's just like for him to say, "Clear this up quickly and we can return to trusting each other." You can just like reset the bond here, the friendship, the trust.
It's also like that saying, if you break a glass, you can't just put it back together, right? You can technically glue the pieces, but it will never be the same.
He shows her Lyra's journal that she took and asks why she stole it. They found out because Markham was alerted that the royal wards had been breached, and Nolan saw Vi in the courtyard with the scribe satchel secretly giving her away. Nolan threatens her that it will get messy if she lies even once. He says that they need to know how they did it, who they did it with, and most importantly, why. Varish asks how she was able to get through the royal wards, and Vi says she is not royal, so it will be impossible for her to breach through the ward. Nora tells them that she is telling the truth and reveals that her signet is to detect lies. Nolan asks her why, and Varish gets annoyed and says, quote, "You're jumping to the why part," end quote. Varish asks Violet how. She watches what she says carefully and says, "How do they know it's not just reproduction?" And Varish asks if it is, and Vi truthfully says she wouldn't know because she didn't get to inspect it. Nora confirms it's the truth. Violet points out that it seems like they don't have proof. The last time someone accused her without proof, they found themselves assigned to the farthest outpost Lucerys has to offer because of her mother. He asked her again, "Who stole that book for you?" And Violet chooses selective truth and says, quote, "I alone put that particular book into its bag," end quote. And it is confirmed by Nora that she is telling the truth. Violet then says that she is done answering their questions and requests for a trial, then call a quorum of wing leaders and do so in accordance to the rules put forth in the Codex. He backhands her hard and Nolan shouts, quote, "Major," end quote. But Varish ignores him and orders Nora to check the hands of every cadet in the quadrant and dismisses Nolan until he is needed to probably mend her, Violet notes. She realizes she is going to be tortured until she tells the truth and reminds herself what Xaden told her. Quote, "Violence, remember it's only the body that's fragile. You are unbreakable," end quote. Varish dislocates her finger and then breaks it as she screams. After some time, Violet hears a drip of the blood, imagining it to be rain, and the hard wood to be Xaden's chest. She realizes that her arm is bent in an unnatural angle, and she hears Liam's voice saying, quote, "Sleep if you can," end quote, as she sees him sitting on the floor beside her. She thinks it's a hallucination, and as if reading her thoughts, he says, quote, maybe Malik sent me as a kindness." So remember that theory that she has some connection with Malik? Maybe Malik did bring Liam's soul to comfort her.
This whole Malik thing is like coming up way too much for it to not be a coincidence.
I also did a quick search on my Kindle for just the name Malik. The amount of times he's even mentioned throughout both books is insanity, because I was just trying to find what this quote, and it was like impossible. I was trying to find like a needle in a haystack because that's how many times he's mentioned in this book.
The other gods too are mentioned, not as much as Malik, but I'm assuming there has to be a connection with her and the gods, like some kind of connection.
I saw this quote on TikTok, which reminded me at the end of Fourth Wing, when Lilith says, "The gods are with us." So Lilith.
Yeah, in the graphic audio, guys, it sounds like she's literally emphasizing that. Okay, so just saying, the graphic audio is life-changing.
Yeah, the graphic audio, I feel like, kind of fills in some of the pieces. Violet feels unbearable pain, and Liam says, quote, "I'm not wandering, Violet. I'm exactly where I need to be," end quote. Liam tells her he is proud of her for staying so strong amidst all the pain and bloodshed she has recently experienced. Varish returns with Nora, and the bitch suggests to bring in her friends as motivation to talk. Motherfucker. Fucking hate that bitch. They reveal it's Monday because her professors are asking for her. Liam notes that she has been there for 2 days. Vi is worried that Xaden is going to lose it in 5 days when he notices that she didn't show up. But Liam says, quote, "You think he's not already losing his shit? I bet he already knows. Sigale would have felt Terran's panic. That dragon of yours may not be able to reach you this deep under Biscayeth, but Xaden's going to rip this place apart brick by brick. You just have to survive," end quote. Violet is concerned that he will risk the movement. Varish decides to dismiss the how and starts asking her why. He asks, quote, "Why did you need the journal from the first 6? What are you trying to ward, Sorrengail?" End quote. He admits that he knows that it wasn't Griffins that killed her friends, but wants to know how much she knows. Liam tells her not to fall for it, saying, quote, "You know he's trying to play you," end quote. He asks her why has she been hanging out with the marked ones and where did she go after the attack, since no outpost reported that she saw a healer as she claimed. She doesn't reveal a single thing, and he intimidates her by revealing to her what his signet is, which is seeing weaknesses in people. And he said that when he first met her, he couldn't detect her weakness because of her shielding, but then found out that her greatest weakness are the people she loves. Heart of gold. Notes that she is triggered, and Liam encourages her to stay strong. Varish claims that Xaden will realize that she is missing come Saturday when she is not in Samara, but Liam knows his boy better and reassures her that he will come sooner. Varish admits that he has been waiting a whole year for her to break the rules so he can use questioning Violet as a trap to question Xaden when he comes to save her. He tells her that he won't hurt Xaden if she reveals the truth. She is almost tempted as Varish asks again, quote, "Where are you trying to ward? What are the marked ones up to?" End quote. Liam touches her arm, and Vi notices how real it feels and says, quote, "Hold the line, Vi. Talking will lead to the deaths of every living thing on this continent. If they had anything on Xaden, he would already be in custody. They're not going to hurt him. They can't." End quote. Varish can see her panicking as he tells her about knowing Xaden's weakness and how easy it will be to get him to talk. Violet then asks, quote, "Does Solus like hiding?" End quote. She suspects that even with her connection with Terran being blocked, Terran is hunting Solus. Varish asks for Nolan to heal her so he can start fresh. She doesn't think she'll survive and asks Liam not to leave her, and he responds, quote, "I won't. I swear," end quote. Ugh, Liam. We miss you, Liam. She wakes up again, and Nolan has already visited her about 3 times, with Liam still by her side, talking her through the torture. Nora suggests bringing Jack in so he can have his retribution, which definitely starts to make Vi panic even more. Varish thinks it's tempting, but then says they can't trust that kid for anything because he is too unpredictable and might kill her. Which, by the way, adds to it. Like, he has to be someone really special for him not to have been kicked out of this college by now for being an absolute psychopath.
Also, the fact that he says that Jack is very unpredictable, me thinking that he'll probably end up killing Violet, but Jack rescued Violet. So, full circle moment. If Jack is Venin and he's high up with the Venin and the Venin want Violet, did he save Violet only to bring her and keep her safe for the Venin?
Yes.
Good point.
That's a good point.
Good point. Or also remember back to our control theory. Is Atos' signet to control? Is someone controlling Jack? Because I cannot deal. Did Nolan heal whatever Jack from his Veninism, and then somehow Jack reached for the power again? I don't know.
Like what Steph mentioned, maybe it's because the Venin found out that what her signet is and what she means, and now I feel like it's just like another clue. Because in the beginning, he was so set on killing her.
He goes back to it though. I don't understand how he went from being like nice in those chapters. I just don't get it.
It was all a farce. It has to be a
Like
farce.
something is off. Because then at the end, he's an asshole again. And he's ready to kill everybody. He even kills Bade.
Yeah.
I think he's just fucking crazy.
Yeah.
That's
Because,
also a very good point.
I think at the end, he sounds crazy.
Yeah.
He literally
just sounds like unhinged. Like not even violent unhinged, just fucking nuts.
And I'm glad you mentioned that because in the you guys are going to think this is the graphic audio loving podcast. The graphic audio, he does sound crazy, Steph. Like he sounds just as crazy as he did the first episode. Rebecca, we need an explanation. We need answers for Jack. Jack confuses us. Okay. All right, moving on.
Yeah. Violet mentions to Liam that Sloane hates her, and he admits that she is tough, but thinks Vi is doing a great job with her. And then suddenly, Dane is heard from out of the cell, and Varsh tells him that Navarre is in danger. It seems like he already knows Dane's weakness, as he tells him that if he doesn't extract the memories from Violet to protect Navarre and their way of life, everything will be doomed. Violet can't block him with her mental shields. Dane is shocked to see Violet's condition and accuses Varsh for torturing her for 5 days. He's been fed lies about Vi, and she tries to tell him that people are in danger, but he won't listen. Varsh warped everything to make her sound like she stole the journal to endanger Navarre by taking down its wards under Ryerson's orders because she is in love with him. I guess Dane was falling for that. Well, he was. Varsh knows what his weakness is, which is jealousy. Varsh shows Dane the alloy dagger she has been carrying around and lying to him that she's been taking it from Navarre to lessen the power of the wards little by little. Someone reports to Nora that all leaders are being ordered to assemble because of the incidents at the border under General Sorengale's orders. Varsh keeps feeding Dane's fears, the lies about it being too late and that they are being betrayed by the marked ones. Liam gives some encouragement to Violet. Violet is feeling more and more fear of Dane touching her to see her memories, but Liam gives some encouragement to allow Dane to search for memories for the truth, only letting him see what she wants him to see. Varsh tells him to search her memories, and whatever he doesn't understand, he'll just explain later. As Dane reaches out, Liam tells her to show him what she wants him to see. Violet shows Dane the day of the attack by the Wyverns and Liam's death. She also shows him the deep pain and suffering it has caused her. He sees everything that she is showing him. So he is basically sort of reliving those moments with her, which I'm sure is a huge shock to him. And after it's all over, he reveals to Varsh that she has been betraying their kingdom to save another. But he puts the alloy dagger to her throat, and the messenger comes back to tell them that they have to leave for the assembly now. As they are about to leave, Dane cuts the straps that are holding Vi to the chair, helping her to leave the cell as he points a sword at Nora. But Xaden comes through and kills Nora with, quote, the wrath of Dune, end quote.
Finally.
That chapter had me like fucked up.
Chapter 36, quote, the only crime worse than murdering a cadet is the unfathomable act of attacking leadership, end quote. Major Offender's Guide to the Writer's Quadrant. Xaden is dripping in rage and literal blood as he finally gets to Violet and ready to attack Dane, the shit stain. Violet even tries to step in front of Dane from Xaden's strike. Guys, even at the brink of death, Violet is here protecting those she loves and cares about. And after everything Dane did, Violet chose to protect him here. She, like you said, Bella, has a heart of gold. I also think Xaden would have 1,000% killed him if she didn't step in. But as Violet tried to step in, she fell because she's so weak from this interrogation, and Dane catches her. Oh, guys, last chapter and this chapter broke my heart, and I'm just so glad Xaden finally got to her. Violet says to Xaden, quote, you came, end quote. And guys, in the graphic audio, this part made me literally cry because you hear how weak she is and how much it meant to her that Xaden came for her. Oh, guys, Chef's kiss, this graphic audio. I'm
Her
telling you.
hero.
Oh my God. Xaden catches her after she stumbles again, and then he says the infamous line, quote, "There's nowhere in existence you could go that I wouldn't find you, remember?" End quote. As he kisses the top of her head, Garrick soon following behind Xaden and notes that it's chaos above them. Xaden's plan worked, which is that they sent leadership to the border saying there was an attack. Varish wakes up and tells Dane that his father will be disappointed, and Dane, not being so shitty-stainy, says, quote, "If he already knows what Violet showed me, then I'm the one disappointed in him," end quote. Dane was about to kill Varish, guys. Okay? Insert Dane redemption here. Xaden tells him it should be Violet that should kill Varish if she wants to. And our violence sure does want to. I can't even imagine the rage Xaden is feeling in this moment. He is still so gentle with Violet. He says to her mind to mind that he's unsure of where to touch her and that won't cause her any pain. Violet tells Varish, quote, "I promised you to die in this room," end quote. And she stabs him with Xaden's help because she's too weak, and Varish dies. Finally.
Hallelujah.
That grease ball is the fucking worst.
Out.
This part is so satisfying. But I have to agree with Xaden. I wish he died much slower death because he deserved that.
Oh my God.
No, this was too quick for him.
I
No.
know. I agree. I agree with that.
No. Violet is our bestie, and we are here for our bestie. Okay?
That's it.
That's it. Violet realizes that Xaden risked everything to save Violet. Violet pleads with him that she didn't break. She promises. I have to quote this whole thing, guys. Xaden says, quote, "I trust you, but it wouldn't matter to me if you had. We're leaving. I'm getting you the fuck out of here," end quote. Violet tells him he will lose Besguide's forge, and Xaden tells her he doesn't give a fuck and that he has everything he needs. Swoons, faints. Oh my God, this man is just top tier. He also says, quote, "I will happily watch Arisha burn to the fucking ground again if it means you live," end quote.
Dang.
Damn, Zaddy. Oh my God.
Was that, can that love exist?
Oh God.
What man would burn have a city burned to the ground for a woman? Like,
listen, this man is just Rebecca, you created a specimen.
This is why books written by women for women is not good for us, because this is our wildest fantasy.
expectations.
I know,
The
right?
expectations. It's up here.
Yeah.
Violet, in disbelief, says he doesn't mean that. And guys, this is going to be a long quote because it's just so perfect. And if you know, you know. Xaden says, quote, "I do. I'm sorry if you expect me to do the noble thing. I warned you. I'm not sweet or soft or kind, and you fell anyway. This is what you get, Violet. Me. The good, the bad, the unforgivable. All of it. I am yours. You want to know something true? Something real? I love you. I'm in love with you. I have been since the night the snow fell in your hair and you kissed me for the first time. I'm grateful my life is tied to yours because it means I won't have to face a day without you in it. My heart only beats as long as yours does, and when you die, I'll meet Malik at your side. It's a damn good thing that you love me too, because you're stuck with me in this life and every other that could possibly follow."
Oh my
End quote.
God. Look, I'm getting teary-eyed.
Same girl. First of all, I see Bella in the corner of my eye. She's like, oh my God. She's like throwing herself back. Insert
Yeah.
crying emoji here. Guys, he's perfect. He's my number one book boyfriend, and following him is Kingfisher. And if you know, you know.
You know what actually I was thinking about right now, like what made me, I guess, tear at this, which I didn't do when I was reading this, but I guess, like, Carol, you brought it out, brought the but it made me think. I think why it's so impactful is that the level of vulnerability that this man possesses, and how he, like, what he says to her. A lot of times, like, it's hard, I think, for men to, like, be sensitive and be vulnerable emotionally. So this just, like, kind of you know, and a woman like that, we love that shit. We love vulnerability. We love emotions. You know, that turns us on.
It just was he obviously, like we saw at the end of Fourth Wing, he didn't want to say to Violet that he loved her too because he felt like she would think it's just because he was just saying it.
Yeah.
But like this whole time, he's been showing it, but like Violet needed the words, and here she is. She didn't think he would come for her. She thought he cared for her, not loved her, was in love with her. Remember, he reads intentions. So he could read where her mind was at. So he had to give her
validation.
That validation and show her that he's not here for anything else more than her.
That's another thing we want.
And then after this,
read our minds.
I mean, not that he hasn't been proving it this whole time, but like he continues to prove it when he doesn't want her to go to Viscount Takaris. He doesn't care. All he cares about is Violet. This is his precious gem that he's trying to protect and love.
We're here for it.
I love you, Xaden Ryerson.
Xaden, this is why you're number one, baby. Number one.
Number fucking one.
Violet tells him she loves him too, and he says he's glad she didn't forget. Garrick reminds them that they have to move, and they do. Violet immediately asks about her squad, and Xaden tells her they're fine. They were just put under guard in the interrogation classroom after they tried to mount a rescue mission the day before. Xaden carries her out, and Garrick yells out that they have a problem, and Xaden asks what kind of problem, and Garrick says, quote, a general-sized one, end quote. Dun dun dun, it's Mama Sorrengail. First thing she says is, quote, who did you kill, end quote, to Xaden, and he says, everyone, and she just nods and drops her blade. I think she did this in order to see if she had to play her role or not. But anyway, she gives Violet the antidote for the serum they gave her that disconnected her from her dragons. She even goes on to say that if she had known this was happening to Violet, she would have came sooner. Violet, in disbelief that her mom is saying all these things, Mama Sorrengail wants a moment with Violet, and Xaden says no. Then her mom says boy bye and reveals Xaden's plan. He dropped dead wyvern carcasses along their border in order to get leadership all over there. Violet is like, oh my god, he did what? Yes, Violet, he love you, girl. Her mom demands 3 minutes with Violet. By the way, Dane still lives and joins them, and Xaden confirms he read his intentions in the future chapters and knows Dane truly changed sides. First thing Violet says to her mom is how she has known what has been happening all these years. Then her mom says, quote, when you have children, we can discuss the risks you'll take, the lies you'll be willing to tell in order to keep them safe, end quote. Violet is like, what about everyone else's kid? And her mom, being a G, says, talk to me when you have your own. Oh my God. Violet tells her it's still wrong, and her mom says that she never said it was right. True. I mean, Violet, just saying, your mom got some good comebacks here. Anyway, her mom confirms here that Markham thought he could control Violet if she went to the scribes, and her mom is like, nope, I know my daughter. So yes, it's confirmed that Lilith did not want Violet in the scribe quadrant because she knows exactly what's going on there. Lilith says, quote, I put you in the writer's quadrant so you'd have a shot at surviving, and then I'd called in a favor Ryerson owed me for putting the marked ones into the quadrant, end quote. Violet is like, what? Yes, girl. Violet is going through her thoughts and realizing how Xaden did not kill her, even though he had many opportunities to do so. And Violet also thinks that Xaden didn't have a choice when it came to her either, but anyway, Violet proceeds to ask if the knife marks on his back are from her meaning her mom. And her mom responds that yes. And she says, quote, it's a Tyrish cuss. She didn't get to finish that sentence because Violet is too disgusted to know more. But Violet, we wish you let her talk, girl. They reach the end of the tunnel and Xaden reaches for Violet. Her mom tells them not to tell her where they're going and even asks Xaden if he's the one that's been stealing weapons. And he says, quote, regret letting me into the quadrant yet, end quote. And her mom says, quote, no, stay alive or this all will have been for nothing, end quote. I need a Mama Sorrengail backstory like yesterday. Anyway, before her mom leaves, she says to Violet, quote, Sorrengails walk or fly off the battlefield, but they're never carried, end quote. Damn, she can't even give Violet a damn break. But
yeah, I thought that was so like
I was
intense.
like, seriously, like,
oh my god, like your
like,
daughter
girl,
was tortured
you're-
for 5 days.
for 5 days. Like,
And she's
oh
like,
my
she
God.
could walk.
Xaden tells them that they are leaving, and Violet is like, no, her squad needs to know, and everyone gets to make a choice if they want to leave Basgiath or not. They deserve to know the truth. And Dane calls formation, guys, as wing leader. Next scene, they are in formation, and Dane told everyone exactly what's going on. Everyone in shock, but Dane says, ask their dragons if they don't believe him. And sure as shit, everyone does. But Taryn even says to Violet, quote, if their dragons agreed to tell them, end quote. Damn, hold on. Sneaky dragons, though. We learn that each individual dragon has their own opinion about the situation. Taryn tells her also that he lost Solus. And says also, quote, when I do find him, I will prolong his suffering before death, end quote. Lord Taryn is pissed, rightfully so. Violet asks him about Andarna, and we find out she's still sleeping, abnormally long to still be asleep, by the way. Ara Benhaven yells out that they're lying, fucking hoe. Garrick steps in front of her with his weapon, out ready to kill her if needed. Violet tells Xaden they need to hurry before the other professors come back. The only ones on campus are Devira, Kaori, Carr, and Emetario. Violet tells Taryn to show the memory of Resin to everyone else's dragon, and he does. Everyone is in mayhem. Dane loses control because no one is paying attention to him. Guys, believe it or not, I felt bad for Dane in this moment. Yes, me, Carolina, I am saying this. And can you believe it? I can't
First
either.
of all,
I know.
I am a sympathizer. So as much as Dane is a shit stain, I think he's a little misunderstood.
I kind of agree with that.
I want him to have a happy ever after. I need him to have.
He needs to redeem a little more than this, though.
I definitely want him to have a happily ever after. He deserves somebody who loves him too.
I think he's gonna die.
Damn, Bella, you just
Isabella.
Bella, you go in for the kill, bro. What the
Right.
I mean, I don't know. I just get a feeling that he's just gonna. Dane's gonna be no more. Dane's gonna be done.
And remember that quote from Fourth Wing where it's like either one of us is going to bury each other. Violet and Dane saying that to each other. So that could be foreshadowing, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Like, even though I never liked Dane, I don't wish for him to die off.
Yeah.
Even though I was super mad at him many times. But just saying.
He was misunderstood, and I think he just needs to grow up
and be away from his daddy.
I also think like Violet, he believed in people. You know, he believed that people were being truthful and honest. And Violet stumbled with this too. You know, we forgive her a lot.
Yeah.
True.
I guess.
Anyway, Xaden takes over talking and everyone listens to him. Obviously. I mean, I would too. Anyway, even Garrick notes how Xaden is being a show-off. And I love Garrick, guys. We still don't know his signet, by the way. Violet notices a trio of cream-colored robes, and the one leading it is Jasenia. And Violet is like, oh my god, who will be carrying them? And Taryn says it's all taken care of. Only this once. Thanks, dragons. Xaden gives everyone the pep talk and a big dose of reality. Professor Carr reaches them and attacks them, and we find out what Bodhi's signet is, which is countering other signets. Very, very interesting. Professor Devere approaches and says, quote, we won't stop you. In fact, some of us have been waiting to join you, end quote. Bam! We knew she was mad cool, and we find out she's the one that left the news about Zoya all over a battle brief. Devira, you mad
Love
cool.
Devira. Love her.
Then they're in the air. Taryn is also carrying a sleepy Andarna with them. Violet is still so weak, so tired, she even sleeps the whole way to Arisha, and she notes her entire squad, even first years, came with them. I also want to note how strategic they are. Marked ones took positions at the edges of the flight formation to hide them from Melgren's signet. Okay? Very well thought out here. As they land at Ryerson House, Violet nearly crumbles getting out of the saddle, but Zaddy is there to catch her. Aw. Brennan comes over, the big brother energy coming in and basically asking Xaden why the fuck is she always hurt, etc. Which, fine, Brennan, fair. Here he seems to care deeply for Violet, even though y'all know I don't trust him. Then Brennan sees all the riders and even scribes approaching Arisha, and he goes to Xaden again like, dude, what the hell? And Xaden says, quote, ask your sister, end quote. And Violet replies, quote, I mean, you did say that you needed riders, end quote. Bam, bam, bam. Just saying, that was a bomb-ass ending. Anyway, Chapter 37. Quote, half palace, half barracks, but entirely a fortress. Ryerson House has never been breached by army. It survived countless sieges and 3 full-out assaults before falling under the flame of the very dragons it existed to serve. End quote. Tyrish History, A Complete Accounting, 3rd edition by Captain Fitzgibbons. So here we go again. The sage is in Violet's, quote, dreams. The sage is saying some villain shit. Then Violet wakes up in Xaden's room in Arisha. She also is having to ground herself and tell herself that she's safe and Varish is dead. Remember, Violet literally got saved just last chapter. She notices Xaden is still asleep and notices how peaceful he looks, and it's a rarity to see him in such a relaxed state. Violet thinks to herself how much she loves him, and finally hearing that he loves her. Violet kisses one of his scars, and that's enough to wake Xaden up. Violet is like, they will probably make her sleep with the other cadets tonight, and Xaden is like, absolutely fucking not. Xaden wants his woman with him. He's like, sis, this is my house, and where I sleep, you sleep. And ladies and gentlemen, they do the deed. Anyway, I cannot go into detail.
Of course. Oh, come on, Carol, share.
No, Bella, I'm not as good as you.
I'm not even.
Bella has a knick-knack for this. I just said.
I don't. I just have the bad luck for that.
Mind you, this is a long episode, so quickly moving on. Just saying, graphic audio is where to go. Anyway, moving on. At the end of their encounter, Violet asks him if he wants her to sleep there, and Xaden simply replies, every night. And guys, I can't express how perfect he is, all wrapped up in a bow. As they leave Xaden's room, Violet notes there are cadets everywhere. Violet is like, can we fit this many cadets? And we get an idea how big Ryerson House actually is, because Xaden replies, quote, there are 100 barrack rooms between the top 3 floors, and that doesn't account for the family quarters on the second, end quote. Guys, 100 barrack rooms? Bro,
wild.
This is a palace. Like, Jesus Christ, this ain't no house. Violet sees Ree, and Ree is happy she's okay, and they don't know what to do. All the cadets are fed, and that's it. So Xaden is like, well, let's see what the assembly is planning. As they go meet the assembly, Violet notices, I'm watching Auric, guys, notices Auric. Okay, and Auric asks Violet, quote, what now, Sorrengail, end quote. Xaden notes to Violet mind to mind that Auric isn't talking about the schedule. Violet is like, I know. Auric wants to make sure that they both will keep his secret of his family, and Violet makes Xaden promise. And for Violet, of course, Xaden promises. As they approach the assembly, they all shout at each other. So much so that Violet walks in with Xaden, and a woman shouts at her, saying, quote, you've exposed everything we've worked for, end quote. Okay, bitch lady. Violet did not break, okay? And they needed riders, so what the fuck do they want? Okay, I hate how they immediately just accuse Violet. Like, they don't even let her speak or breathe. They just attack her. Meanwhile, it's Xaden that definitely had a hand in this too, but I don't see them accusing him like that. I'm just saying I'm a loyal bestie, and Violet is our bestie. Okay. Xaden even tells the woman he made the call. And Waho, and what? Garrick, Bodhi, and Imogen join in as well. Violet notes the throne and didn't connect the dots yet that it's Xaden's chair. She thinks they are waiting for someone. She's adorable, guys. They fight back and forth, blah blah, about what to do with the cadets. Then they bring up Dane and what to do with him. And Xaden even defends him by saying that he's the one that called formation. Side note. Something I found weird. Violet says, quote, Kath is enough to vouch for Dane's loyalty, end quote. Okay. Why is she so sure about Kath? What is it about Kath? Because he's a dragon, but we know from Solus and Bade that they will do whatever for their riders. So how is Violet so sure about Kath? I found this interesting because, as we know, dragons definitely have their own opinions to things, and I don't know why Kath is so trustworthy of a dragon out of all the other dragons. Battle Ox asks about the journal from Warwick, and Violet tells them she does have it, and Jasenia even helped her and her squad to steal it from the archives, but it contains cryptic instructions in Old Lucerish, which needs translation. Violet thought Brennan knew Old Lucerish, but he doesn't. Welp, insert Dane Atos here. But moving on. They argue about the whole situation again, and then Xaden had enough and flips out. But I want to note what he says here. Quote, and as for Violet, if you want to confine her, question her, then it's me you start with. I bear the responsibility for her and any decision she makes. Remember, end quote. Violet's gravity shifts in this moment, remembering a thin silver line and its precise edges. It's the same length as the ones on Xaden's back. The one over his fucking heart, guys. Guys, this is just... Violet, shocked, asks him, when did he do that scar? And Xaden says, quote, about 2 seconds after I put you in Brennan's arms after Resin, end quote. Hold on, let me go faint for a second. And I'm back.
And you're back.
Guys, this is just... this is why he's number one. He's number one. The assembly is still arguing, but Xaden says this is my damn house, which his energy right now is so hot. But here's the kicker. He tells them, quote, my life is tethered to Violet's, so if you want me in that fucking chair, you'll accept her, end quote. Violet starts spiraling. She connects the dots, guys. She's like, oh my goodness, and notices all of that is Xaden's. Yes, baby girl. It is. Then they agree and tell Xaden they will trust her. Talk about hot. Violet hears a voice call out for her, and for the first time in months, she hears Andarna's voice.
Little Andarna. Not so little anymore.
Chapter 38. The excerpt from the beginning of the chapter is, quote, with all we've sacrificed for this kingdom, we'd better be able to defend it, end quote. The Journal of Warwick of Lucerys, transcribed by Violet Soaringale. Unlike the last time Violet was in Orisha, there are dragons everywhere. She comes to a napping Andarna, and Vi notices that she has a scorpion tail. She looks at her coloring and thinks she looks kind of green, but, quote, no. Her scales are still black. It must be an adolescent thing that they're so shiny. She reflects some of the color around her, end quote. Violet says, I thought she was awake, to which Taryn replies, an hour ago. But it took poor Violet forever to get out of the meeting and hike the cliff. She doesn't want to wake Andarna, but she mentions how much she missed her. Suddenly, gold eyes flash open, and she's up. And finally, Violet feels her world right itself. After sleeping for almost 3 months, Andarna is awake and nearly 2/3 of Sigil's size. But as she flares her wings, she almost loses her balance and almost falls onto Violet. She tries again to extend her wings, but, quote, her left one doesn't fully extend. It makes it halfway, but the remainder of the black webbing never pulls taut. She attempts once, twice, then bares her sharp teeth and hisses steam when it doesn't snap into place on the 3rd attempt. Oh gods, something is wrong. Violet's mind is reeling. She doesn't know what is going on with Andarna. She's worried for her and thinks her wing is broken. But Andarna takes it the wrong way and says, quote, "I am not broken," end quote. Vi apologizes to Andy, but Andy keeps reading her thoughts the wrong way, as adolescents do. She tells Vi, quote, "Speech isn't necessary when I can hear your thoughts. I am no more broken than you are," end quote. And now Andarna has hurt Violet's feelings. Taryn cuts in and says, quote, "She is allowed to be concerned for you as you are for her," end quote. He orders Andy to go with Sigale and eat some sheep since she seems to be hangry. I don't blame you, Andarna. My husband would say I act the same when I haven't eaten. Left with Taryn, Violet asks him what's going on with her wing. He says, quote, "There are many reasons younglings do not leave the Veil. The mass expenditure of energy in Resin forced her into a rapid rate of growth. You know that. But if it had happened here or at Biscayeth, where she could have been quickly, safely sheltered for the dreamless sleep, perhaps she would have grown as usual. His tone is enough to raise the hairs on the back of my neck. He's never this careful with his words, never this careful with my feelings." He continues, "But we flew that critical day between Resin and Arisha. Then we waited again to fly to Biscayeth, and even then she woke several times. The elders have never seen a dragon remain dreamless that long, and now her growth is unpredictable. There is a second set of muscles along the front of our wings that formed during growth. Hers did not. The elders believe she'll fly in time once she strengthens the existing muscle to compensate," end quote. Violet asks if she can be mended, but Taryn lets her know, "You cannot mend what does not exist." He continues to tell her that Andarna, with training, will be able to fly, but she will never be able to bear a rider. And you guys know that for a dragon who chose a rider, and this is really Andarna's choice. Andarna was the one that wanted to bond Violet. She went to threshing with Violet in mind, and for her not to be able to carry her rider, I'm sure that's like gonna be awful for her. This is a difficult truth for Violet to accept. For the next few days, it is all Violet can think about, even as she keeps trying to translate Warwick's journal. She's coming up with Iron Rain. She translated the passage for the third time and keeps coming up with the same result. She asks Taryn if it means anything to him, and he implies it does not. Violet acknowledges how the Assembly and Brennan have done a great job at educating, feeding, and housing all the cadets that come from Biscayeth. She talks about Emeterio, who has them training. Ulysses, who she calls Hawknose, teaches physics while glaring at her. What's up with his hatred, though? Like, what's up with that? Why is he so hateful? Kylan, who she calls Battle Axe, LOL, is teaching flight maneuvers, and Suri, with the, quote, silver-streaked hair who blatantly hates me, end quote, flew off with Xaden on a mission Violet is not privy to. Pause. I have to say, if the shoe was on the other foot, Xaden would definitely not like Violet leaving him without any information, which honestly makes Xaden kind of a hypocrite. Like, I understand why he, the leader of a rebellion, has to keep things from her, but usually lovers open up a little bit more than he does.
Correct. I agree.
I mean, he wouldn't like Violet doing her own thing without him knowing what she's doing.
Always getting at her for that. So he has nothing to say.
Yup. The cadets file into the rebuilt theater, and Violet notes how, quote, there's enough seating for every cadet, but that of all the things they could have rebuilt in the last 6 years, they chose a theater, end quote. Honestly, speaks so much of Terrandor and what it wants for its future. A peaceful land where they can enjoy the arts and a life without a war college. The theater will now house them for battle brief. Violet talks about the map, the truth of the map showing red and orange flags of areas that have been drained, taken, or destroyed by the Venin. She also asks her squad mates if they were able to get letters out to their families telling them to leave the borders, and wonders if Melgreen will execute the families of the cadets who left. With all of this, Violet can't help but feel guilty. Quote, and it's my fault. I'm responsible for Andarna's wing, for forcing the exposure of the truth before Orisha was ready to act, for bringing 100 riders here without permission, for the worry etched in Brennan's forehead about boosting the sheep population for all the dragons I led here, and for putting a target on my friend's family's back. I gripped my pen so tight it groans under the strain. How could I make every right decision last year and every wrong one this year? End quote. Arik, without even turning, tells them he declined to contact his father. Duh. As Ree asks if Violet is any closer to figuring out how to raise the wards. Professor DeVera leads battle brief. Quote, welcome to your first official battle brief as traitors. End quote. Bam. Everyone is at attention and a pit forms in Violet's stomach. But DeVera just clarifies that to Navarre, to some friends and family, they will be seen as traitors, even if they left to defend the defenseless. She lets them know how proud she is of them all. Lieutenant Colonel Asray, aka Brennan, is taking over as the scribe curator. Pause. Isn't this fishy, y'all? The Brennan is going to be the one teaching them the quote-unquote truth. I do not trust this orange dragon ass one bit.
Listen here, that's a good point. I didn't even realize that until you just said this.
Girl.
So he's gonna lie to everybody again. So we're having a best Gaiath 2.0.
No, he's a good liar. We know he's a good liar.
Clearly. Mm-hmm. And we're gonna have a best Gaiath 2.0 situation here. No.
No.
Brennan. You know what? Let's just jump him right now, girls. Let's go.
Brennan begins and tells them they are responsible for choosing their wing leaders, which surprises the cadets. Fourth Wing is this year's Iron Squad for the second year, with Flame Section being the Iron Section. He begins with letting them know that in Navarre, the public does not know, and that General Melgreen has managed to keep everything hidden. He adds that they are still turning away Poramish citizens at the border. Horrible. That in their quest to hide the truth, they have managed to kill so many innocent lives. He believes that their location in Orisha is still hidden, even though they have doubled their forces at the Terrandor borders. Helping relieve some of Vi's guilt, he mentions how the families of the cadets have not been targeted, and that they will do their best to help them should they want to risk coming to Orisha. Violet feels a lump in her throat and thinks that their father would be proud of Brennan. DeVera interrupts Brennan, allowing the students to think for themselves and actually learn. And they figure that leadership has been too busy clearing up their mess to deal with them. But Brennan advises that soon they will be fighting two wars, one with Navarre and one against the Venin. A cadet asks when do they get to fight the Venin, but obviously Brennan advises that they are nowhere near ready to fight them. They would definitely die. They first need to train and learn how to take on a Dark Wielder. He adds that he hopes that they will be able to raise the wards and get their forge up and running so that they can supply both the riders and the flyers. Brennan reminds the cadets that the flyers are not the enemy. Brennan says, quote, knock it off. Flyers are dangerous, but they are not the enemy you've been raised to fear, though some are still hostile towards us, as evidenced by the attack on Samara 4 days ago. End quote. And Violet's worst fear, because who is stationed at Samara? Thankfully, Brennan continues on to say that only one dragon was injured, but no one died. So Mira is okay. Violet instantly feels like she can breathe. Vi notes that the flyers were most likely looking for weaponry since they are aware of all that is going on politically in Navarre. She mutters to herself but doesn't ask the question, even though Ree told her to. Eventually, Riddick is the one that asks, and Vi notes that Brennan looks at her with disapproval, already knowing that the question was most likely hers. She asks the next question, quote, did the flyers attack Samara before or after the news of our departure from Vescaia leaked into Turmoil, end quote. And DeVera replies, after, which again makes Violet feel more guilty. Quote, they attack because they know we can't supply them. They're defenseless. end quote. And Ree notices, telling Vi it is not her fault. But it doesn't matter because Vi feels that it is her fault for urged Xaden to invite the cadets. Violet's mind goes straight to Corden where Viscount Takaris has the only known luminary. Taryn interjects her thoughts and tells her it is not safe for her to go. But Vi notes that neither is staying there without wards and weapons. My favorite, though, is Andarna, who insults Taryn by asking him if he can even carry the luminary. LOL. Suddenly, Taryn tells Vi, quote, "Silver One, a riot approaches," end quote. And everybody panics, thinking it's Navarre coming to fight them. Arik even asks Vi if Taryn can take on Coda. Boy, if you don't leave my dad Taryn alone, okay?
Don't be talking about Taryn fighting nobody. Leave him alone.
No wars. Vi asks Taryn how many, and he replies, quote, 40. Sigale is approaching as well, but she's too far out to wait. Teen leads the riot? End quote. And again, fear not Violet's stomach as she realizes it's her sister Mira. Violet ignores everyone and runs. But also, guys, run is italicized. So, is there something with speed, something with agility? She even says, quote, "Running every morning for the past 3 months has bolstered what advantage I already had on most of the riders in this room. Speed," end quote. Meanwhile, Brennan shouts, quote, "Ready the crossbolts," end quote, which, holy fucking shit. Did his dragon also tell him that Teen was leading the riot? Violet continues on running. Quote, "Statues and tapestries blur as I run by, my lungs burning as I dart past the guards and riders flowing into the thoroughfare," end quote. And Material shouts to her to get to the Great Hall. She ignores him, quote, "And I fly straight through, my feet barely skimming the marble steps into the courtyard, just in time to see Teen's wings flare directly in front of me to halt a rapid descent," end quote. The fact that she says her feet barely skim the steps, the tapestries blur, what does it mean? What does it mean? What does it mean?
This is the Delulu podcast.
Delulu, for real. Violet comes to a stop in front of Teen, and Orange and a red dragon as 4 more land on the outer walls.
Wait, but who's flying that orange dragon, though? Whose untrustworthy ass is on that?
That's like the indication there.
Orange dragon theory.
Indication
podcast.
of the villain.
Vi calls out to Taryn, and he literally drops out of the sky like a meteor, laughing my ass off. I could only imagine, like visually, like this is what I'm thinking. Choo! Land. But Taryn don't fuck around, all right, y'all?
No, he don't.
Because he roars so loudly that Violet's teeth rattle. Then he blows fire at the dragon's legs. And then he fucking latches onto Teen's throat. Violet, the little drama queen, she's
That was
like,
a little hot.
Taryn!
That was hot.
Taryn will kill Teen, which...
That was hot. Damn, Sigale.
That was
like
some big
pouncing on him.
Girl, Sigale, we see you, girl. We see you.
That was some BDE.
Yeah.
Anyways, Violet screams afraid Taryn will kill Teen, which would result in Mira dying. But he replies that he has her throat and has not broken his scales as Mira yells, "For fuck's sake, Violet." Mira dismounts and says, quote, "We all come peacefully. It was Ryerson who came for us. How else would we have found you? Gods, I thought this place was ash," end quote. And even though she won't kill Mira, Violet still places her hands close enough to her daggers in case she does need to fight her. Finally, Taryn confirms it was Xaden, and Mira wraps her arms around Violet, telling her, quote, "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I didn't listen to what you were trying to tell me at Samara," end quote. Violet replies, "I needed you, Mira," to which Mira answers, quote, "I'm so sorry I let you down, and I promise it won't happen again. You really stole half of Biscay's cadets and killed the vice commandant," end quote. Violet says it was a team effort between Dane, Xaden, and herself, and asks her, quote, "Did you know?" End quote. And Mira swears she didn't, not until the wyvern was dropped at the front gates of Samara. Their mom arrived about 10 hours later and told them the truth, told all the riders the truth. What is Lilith's version of the truth, guys. What is the truth? What do you mean? I want to know. I just need to know more about Lilith. She's just got too many eggs placed in too many places, and there's just too much going on with her. I need to know.
It's too many secrets. It's like the Mean Girls where it's like her hair is full of secrets.
Yeah, seriously. Again, Violet conforms with Xaden, thinking, quote, I reach out not because I don't trust my sister, but because I trust him more. End quote. Damn, girl. She said, I trust this man, the love of my life, more than I trust my sister that's known me my whole life, literally.
Damn.
She's got it down bad, but I feel that. Mira says that their mom gave the writers an hour to decide, and Violet is confused. I am confused as well, because why would her mom and Melgreen let them go? That is the real damn fucking question. I want to note that Mira starts to say, quote, I think she knew I'd find, end quote. Now, what is she talking about? Find what? She already found out the truth directly from her mom. So what else could she find, guys? Mira freezes because dun, 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 drum roll. Who's coming down the fucking steps right now other than her dead motherfucking brother, Brennan, who, again, smiles. It pisses me the fuck off, that fucking little bitch. Mira croaks, quote, Brennan? End quote. He replies, hey, Mira, with a fucking smile, y'all. She says, quote, you're alive? After, it's been 6 years and you're alive? End quote. He answers, in the flesh. Gods, it's so good to see you. And my favorite part, Mira pulls her fucking fist back and punches him straight in the fucking face, as Violet should have. But I digress.
Violet should 100% have done the same thing. He deserves both punches from both sisters.
What is up with the smile again, guys? Yo, for real. Like, for real. Why is he happy?
He's a slithering snake.
If I was pretending to be dead and then I saw my sister who I was pretending, I would just be like, holy shit. Like, I wouldn't be like, in the flesh, good to see you. Chapter 39, quote, the blood of life of the 6 and the 1 combined and set the stone ablaze in an iron rain, end quote. The Journal of Warwick of Lucerys, translated by Cadet Violet Soaringale. So much blood. As Violet takes control of the situation of her brother and her sister's fight, not that I blame Mira, I kind of wish Violet had done it first. A guard tries to reach for Mira and Brennan tells her to leave his sister alone. Quote, it's a family matter. End quote. As Mira replies, quote, family? Family doesn't let each other think they're dead for 6 years. The only family in this room is Violet and me. End quote. Stinky, hawk-nosed, stupid ass Ulysses narrows his eyes at Mira and checks on Brennan. Brennan tells him to have the riders go check on the Tirish outpost and says that according to Mara, Xaden vouches for them. Brennan still can't believe Mira punched him, and Mira replies, quote, oh, do cry for me, big brother. You know, the way we cried for you, end quote. And damn if that's not facts on facts. Brennan yells at Mira that he knew she wouldn't understand, and Mira says, quote, understand? Understand that you let us burn your things? Let us watch our mother become a shadow of herself. Let us watch our father's heart give out because your death broke him? End quote. And Brennan has the audacity to say his father would have understood and follows it by saying, quote, and as for our mother, I hope my death haunts her every damn day. She was so willing to sacrifice my life for a lie. End quote. Ew, you stupid Brennan. You suspect motherfucker. Anyways, the two continue going back and forth, finally letting all of those feelings out, which is really good for them. Mira was speaking facts. finally, though, the love of my life walks in, aka Xaden, and the fight leaves Violet as relief curses through her at seeing Xaden unhurt. He kisses her, quote, slowly, gently, and I lean up on my toes to get closer, cupping his stubbed cheeks between my palms. End quote. Damn, I want a signet where I can go into bodies and be Violet right now.
A possessing signet.
Like, I just want to be like a demon that possesses Violet so I can kiss Brennan, seriously? Right in front of me? And Mira, quote, oh, this is tame for them. Wait until they decide to basically climb each other in a public place. You can't burn that shit out of your head. Trust me, I'm fucking dead. The older siblings feel so cringe at seeing Violet and Xaden make out. Violet notes that, quote, everything I really, truly love, everyone I can't live without is here. And for the first time in my life, I can protect them, end quote. She tells them, quote, I need the blood of the 6 most powerful riders, end quote. Violet thinks she can raise the wards. 9 of them, the Assembly, Bodhi, and Vi, make their way to the Wardstone. As they walk up, Violet is feeling the pressure from those who are not keen on her. Ulysses takes the opportunity to discuss the negotiations with Takaris. He asks for them to answer his call and for the seaside drifts to be armed first, and he will, quote, let them bring the luminary to Orisha, end quote. Xaden replies that he won't, with Brennan finishing that he will if he can see Vi wield. And Zaddy is not having it, saying, quote, looks like we need to seek another luminary because he'll meet Malik before Violet, end quote. Hot diggity damn. Violet says she doesn't mind going, but Xaden would never put her life in any kind of danger. The canyon opens into a circular chamber and ruins cover the walls. Vi asks how she has never seen it when she's flying, and Xaden replies that there are old, complicated ruins masking the location. Violet sees the wardstone and describes it. Quote, the shimmering black pillar raises to over twice the height of Xaden and would take all 9 of us holding our arms outstretched to surround it. Etched in the very center, at least 6 feet across, is a series of circles, each fitting within the next and boasting a rune carved in along its path. It's almost the same pattern as the pages of Warwick's journal, end quote. Violet asks if it's onyx, to which Xaden replies they're not certain, but his father thought it was polished iron. It connects and hope rises in Violet, quote, iron rain, end quote. She tells him she needs their blood and everyone doubts it, but no one else can translate Old Lucerish, so they have to believe she is right. Brennan adds that they believe the 6 most powerful riders in Orisha are Xaden, Felix, Suri, Bodhi, Violet, and himself, and place their hands on the wardstone. Unfortunately for Violet and for them, it does not work. Failure clouds Violet's mind and she spirals, thinking and wondering how she could have gotten it all wrong. Xaden notices and calls out to her, saying, violence, no disappointment, no pity. As Violet says, she failed, but he says, quote, you'll try again, end quote. She nods, but disappointment still clouds her. Failure is all she can think about.
The journal said that it required the power of the 6. It's talking about dragons, like the power of all those dragons, and Andarna.
Is Andarna a product of all the dragons? Like a breeding of a different, all of them, and the combined one.
Right. And she's also iridescent, which means like she just has all these different colors.
Bella.
Ballerina coming in hot.
We'll see what happens.
She nods, but disappointment still clouds her. Failure is all she can think of. Then anger begins to spike in her, and she tells herself she doesn't fail. Power raises in Violet, and Felix notices, quote, I suppose we better start tomorrow. Skip the run. We'll be training your signet. End quote. Finally, someone will be able to guide our girl so she can master this power of hers. Violet demands Xaden to take her to Takara's, but of course, he refuses. Violet storms out and Brennan notices the look on her face as he follows her, saying, quote, when you dig in about something, you're more tenacious than all of us put together. So no, I won't be going away. End quote. Guys, this gives me hope. I know Violet will go above and beyond to save Xaden in Onyx Storm. He is her gravity, and she will not risk him ever. She will not fail him. She does not fail. Violet calls out to Terran, and he sighs because he knows he will not be able to sway Violet. As Violet makes her way through everyone, going straight to Mira and tells her, quote, I need your help, end quote.
Chapter 40. Violet has a new professor to train her signet, Felix. They are standing on a bowl-shaped mountainside close to Arisha. Her instructions are to aim for the 3 boulders in the distance. Violet explains that Carr did not care where she aimed as long as she was firing lightning as many times as possible within an hour. Felix's training will be different from Carr's, as he notes that she almost burned out because of his training. But Vi admits that it was punishment for protecting her dragon. Vi starts to release her signet towards the boulders, and 2 strikes hit near them in the span of a minute. She was feeling herself for that until Felix bursted her proud bubble and said, quote, what was that shit? End quote. He instructs her that she needs to focus on aiming for the boulders because if those were Venin, they would be dead by now. She gets frustrated as she admits that she can't aim, but Felix begs to differ since she was able to do it at the Battle of Resin. She says it was because Andarna was able to stop time and now she is back to the, quote, strike and pray method, end quote. Felix finds out that Violet can summon lightning from the sky, but can't summon them from her hands. He expresses by saying, quote, you just might wield the most devastating signet on the continent, but you know nothing about it, nothing about the energy fields that draw it. Instead of shooting your power like an arrow, precise and measured, you're just heaving it around like boiling oil, hoping you hit something, end quote. Violet starts to get pissed as he continues to criticize her, calling her, quote, a glorified light show, end quote. And she erupts. A lightning strikes about 20 feet away from them. Felix then remarks that she also has no control as well. He asks her how often does that happen, and she admits, quote, too often, end quote, as she thinks about all of her times with Xaden. He fishes in his pack and gives her a conduit shaped as a glass orb with silver metal strips and an alloy the size of her thumb sitting inside of it. He explains that she is the vessel, the, quote, cloud, if you will, that channels Terran's powers to her. He says that it's Carr's fault for not teaching her how to aim and have that self-control. Felix says to her, quote, you create something that was not there before. You wield pure power that takes the form of lightning because that's what you're most comfortable shaping it as. Apparently, Carr has never taught you that either, end quote. She wonders why Carr didn't teach her that, and Felix says it's because he was scared shitless of her. He tells her that the assembly was also concerned about her presence because the power she yields is not only in her signet, but also in her authority over Xaden because of his love for her, meaning like he will do anything for her. Violet brushes it off and tries to deny that claim. He dropped the wyverns at the outpost, revealing the secret beyond that border, and helped her to get the riders to Arisha for her. She starts to feel her signet charge and sees the orb in her hand light up as it absorbs her power. Felix explains that he carved runes into the conduit so it may possess a sort of purpose. He meant to give it to her before she left the Ryerson house, but did not get the chance. He says, quote, which you know nothing about because Baskai doesn't teach Tirish runes, even if the college was fucking built on them. Guess we'll ask Trissa to teach that class. She has the most patience out of the assembly, end quote. She asks if the conduit is a siphon for her power, and he explains, quote, somewhat, I made it as a simpler way to imbue power into alloy. It will drive from you when it threatens to overpower you or when you choose to direct it. hopefully in small controlled amounts, end quote. Vi tries to convince him to teach her now, but he tells her that she needs to master the basics first before going for the big strikes because she is currently a threat, whether she sees it or not. He instructs her to practice while he is away and will know if she is by feeling the alloy, or I guess like touching it or whatever. He threatens to not train her if she does not practice. She understands then that she is a threat if she is not in control of her emotions, which also means not in control of her powers, and confirms to him that she wants to learn. Mira and Violet are walking together in some valley at night, far away from Marisha. Mira expresses her concern for what Violet is planning to do, which is to visit Takaris to stop Griffin attacks on Navarian outposts by getting the luminary, but she is unsure if he will let them go. Mira agrees to follow along out of guilt for not believing Violet in the first place about the Venin, but knows that Xaden is going to be pissed that Violet went behind his back. Vi says, quote, really doing it this way because he refuses to do what needs to be done in the name of protecting me. End quote. Mira admits that she likes that because she worries less about her, but Violet prefers the wanting to kill her Xaden and not the hovering Xaden. Brennan also chimes in that he's also tagging along to make sure they don't die. But it's also because of his rank and ability to negotiate an arms deal on behalf of the Assembly. Violet thinks to herself that the only threat is that Takaris keeps her in Turmoil, which is fine with her as long as they get that luminary. And if it comes to that, Mira shares the idea of fighting her way out with Violet in tow. But Violet says that it's dangerous to do that and to pull themselves together and stop squabbling. She settles Taryn, asking him if he promised not to tell Sigale what she's about to do until she gets back, but Taryn says that she's already gone. They ride out on their dragons towards Turmoil, and she tries to rest to, quote, perform, end quote, for Takaris, as Taryn suggested, but she's too jittery. As they are flying, griffins are spotted in front of them in a V formation, and Taryn reassures them that they are just escorting them to Cordon. Taryn points out the fortress on the eastern side of the farthest peak, which Violet finds beautiful because of its glowing appearance, but Taryn remarks that it's, quote, it's just the sun reflecting off the white marble. The entire thing is ridiculous and indefensible, end quote. Violet agrees, thinking about the possibility of it being destroyed by Venin. The griffin starts a sharp descent, but Taryn tucks in his wings and flies down faster. And Violet says, quote, stop intimidating them, end quote. And he replies, quote, I can't help that their inferiority, end quote, with a smile to his tone. As they land, Taryn warns her that she is not going to like the welcome they receive. And Vi brushes it off, saying, quote, I'm sure we'll be fine. You worry too much. And he says, quote, we'll see about that, end quote. We sure will.
Bella, your side eye right now was perfect. The way I imagine Taryn's face is how Bella made the face right now. She looked at a side eye like, we shall see.
We'll see. I channeled Taryn right there. Mira and Brennan meet Violet, with Brennan wedging himself between them protectively. Okay, so this part made me think, like, I mean, could he really be Venin if he's showing this level of protective brother vibes, you know? Like, I feel like if he was, I don't know, if he was Venin, he would, like, wouldn't care.
I don't think
the
he's
Venin want Violet, though.
True, but I don't think he's necessarily Venin. I think that Neolin channels into Brennan and keeps him alive. I think Brennan's loyalties are not Violet and Mira.
I got you.
You know what I mean? He could be Venin too, obviously, but I'm just saying that
it's like a different kind of betrayal.
Like, I think Brennan has love for his sisters and whatever, but I think at the end of the day, he's going to be more loyal to Neolin,
right,
versus his sisters, because obviously he don't give a fuck about that because he didn't tell them that he was alive 6 years.
I know, but then why would he be protective though?
Because he's stupid and he don't know what he wants.
He's a man, he don't know what he wants. I mean, bottom line is that we know that something is shady with Brennan, so we'll see. 3 Griffin flyers are standing before the entrance to the palace, observing them. They know that the people of the palace have been waiting for them. Brennan advises them to shield their minds because although flyers don't have signets, they compensate with mind work. As they approach, one of the flyers speaks to Brennan in Navarian, which surprises him, but the flyer says, quote, of course, not every kingdom thinks theirs is the only language that should be spoken, end quote. Ouch. But fair point there, my friend. He then asks them to give him one truth, and he will allow them to see the Viscount. Violet then says, quote, "You're a truth-sayer," end quote. And the flyer admits that he is, and Violet makes a mental note that some of their powers are probably the same. But he corrects her by saying, quote, "Unlike writers, we do not label ourselves by our abilities, but yes, I have the gift of telling when someone is lying," end quote. And this really bothers Violet because she hates not knowing things and not having information or knowledge on something. So she's like mentally kicking herself for the ignorance of not knowing their history or culture, but blames on the lack of information provided for them in the archives. She then tells the flyer that she is there to wield her lightning in return for asking their Viscount for help. He looks at Brennan, who says, quote, "I'm just here to broker a deal for your luminary in return for weaponry," end quote. And then at Mira, who says, quote, "Fine, make one wrong move for my sister and I'll cut you like a fish. That goes for everyone in the city. How is that for honest?" End quote. The flyer smiles and says that he can respect that, despite Brennan's protest on Mira's just outright blatant response. The trio of Griffin flyers move aside, revealing a figure dressed in all black. I have to read this whole part because it's too good.
Oh, Lord Jesus.
Oh, Lord. As this figure emerges, Violet notices, quote, "His jaw flexes, his hand curls at his sides, and his beautiful face, well, he hasn't looked at me with that much anger since discovering my last name at Parapet, back when he wanted to kill me. Guess I should be careful what I asked for because I am so fucked," end quote. Xaden then says, quote, "You aren't where I left you, Violence," end quote.
First of all, strong, independent woman. Who are you to tell her where to go and tell her she needs to be staying somewhere? And I don't appreciate that. You cannot tell her that she needs to stay somewhere. She's not a dog.
But he looked mad hot coming out like that, though.
That's true. That's true.
Yes. I mean, yes.
Forgiven. All forgiven.
I mean, yes, but also don't tell me what to do.
True.
If you like that.
Yes. But
this is the We Contradict Ourselves podcast.
Yes.
Yes, but you don't have to tell me to my face. Let me live.
You like
in
that
Lululand.
too. Bella calling her out like, "But you like that though?" She's like, "Yes, but no at the same time."
You can just hear the lies laced in her anger. It's more of like, gosh, I like that so much. That's why I'm so angry about it.
Right. I can't.
It's kind of like, I wish that happened to me. And I'm sad that it didn't.
That's so funny. All right. Chapter 41. Quote, "Having refused every proposal from the Isle Kingdoms, Queen Maria has named her distant cousin, Viscount Takaris of Corden, as her heir. As the Viscount is living in his 5th decade and has no direct heirs of his own, the decision has not been a popular one," end quote, on the aristocracy of Turmoil by Pearson Keto. Violet has arrived and she's annoyed at Xaden because she feels that he's acting like she's a little pet that he can control around at this moment, which Xaden should know that's not something Violet enjoys if he didn't learn that from Dane Atos himself. Brennan, picking up on the tension here, says, quote, "Save it for behind closed doors, lovebirds," end quote. LOL. Yes, Brennan, you're right for now. Xaden and Brennan have a little battle between themselves because Xaden's telling Brennan, "Why did you bring Violet here? Blah, blah, blah." Mira is dumbfounded by this palace. Xaden tells her, quote, "You should see the butterfly garden," end quote. Violet, being our clever girl, is like, wait a minute. How does Xaden know the fucking butterfly garden? This is when my anger starts boiling, so I'm a curse a lot in these next few moments here. Oh,
see,
Violet.
I knew you were on my side.
Violet, you're about to be pissed with a capital P, girlfriend. So Viscount Takaris approaches and they have their greetings. The Viscount, of course, takes interest and Violet and immediately asks her if she indeed wields lightning. She's like, I do. Duh. Brennan interjects to try and start chatting about more important matters, but the Viscount says, quote, it's poor etiquette to discuss business until dinner. You know the rules, Ryerson, end quote. This part makes me so mad. Violet, we are here for you. This is the We Don't Like Cat podcast. Violet is like, you know the rules to Xaden, and she asks how many times has he been here, and our boy simply says he didn't keep count. Takaris tells them that they have clothes for them to dress into for dinner and asks Kat to escort them, and once Violet hears Kat's name, our girl thinks to herself, quote, you have to be fucking kidding me, end quote. We know, Violet. We know. And I fucking hate this part.
We're here for you, Violet.
Violet finally understands why Xaden has been here too many times. Ugh. Kat tells Xaden, quote, we kept your room exactly how you left it, of course, end quote. My blood is fucking boiling again. Ass Kat looks at Xaden with longing. Get your paws off him, Kat. Violet, we got your back. Violet is notably getting mad, and Xaden tells her mind to mind, quote, why don't you come get dressed in my room, end quote. Violet, fuming, is like, quote, your room? I think I'd like a little space, end quote. Word, us too, but not really. Moving on. Xaden tells Violet where his room is, and he's close enough to hear her scream, if anything. And Violet is like, thanks. And Kat, being Kat, says, quote, surely you can't be worried that she's in any danger from me, end quote. Kat, shut your fucking trap. Violet can beat your ass any day. Hashtag Team Violet. Xaden tells Violet mind to mind how dangerous Takaris is and how anyone here is willing to kill Violet and her family besides Brennan. Violet is like, listen here, dude. Stop keeping me safe. I don't need your help. She even calls him out that last year he never treated her like a caged animal he needed to keep safe. Fair point, Violet. Fair point. Xaden simply says, quote, I wasn't in love with you then, end quote. Okay. We love you again. Violet notes that he's scared, and without a doubt, Xaden confirms he's terrified. Violet is like, well, we need that luminary. And yes, they do. But Xaden don't give two fucks if Violet's safety is on the line, which is so hot. But anyway, Violet hits him with a blow, though. She says, quote, do you know who you sound like right now? Dane, end quote. And then shuts the door in his face. Ooh. Ouch.
This was cold. She was cold for this.
Yeah, ice cold.
Right below the belt.
But he was kind of being a little bit of an overbearing ass.
He was. I agree.
Just a tad.
I have to agree. But it's Xaden, so we're a little more lenient, okay? So
he can get away with murder. Literally.
He could do anything he wants. Violet is dressed and ready for this dinner. She's wearing a, quote, bodice which plummets in a deep V to the base of my ribs, is made of woven black leaves, never bigger than the size of my palm, narrowing above the swells of my breast to single vines that drape tiny leaves over my shoulder and down the sides of my back, leaving the majority of my spine and all of my relic exposed, end quote. Our girl is dressed to impress. Okay. Violet asks the maiden if Takaris collects people, and she says to Violet, quote, only if they agree to be collected, end quote. Okay, at least he doesn't kidnap, I guess. Weird. Anyway, there's a knock at the door, and it's fucking Kat. And Kat says, quote, you went with black? And Violet replies, I'm a writer. And then Kat says, I just would have chosen something more colorful. Xaden always laments how monotone everything is at Besgaiath. There's still time to change if you'd like, end quote. She is many, many words I'd like to use right now.
Biatch.
Violet, don't let her make you doubt yourself. This fucking bitch fucking can't stand her. Kat, in the graphic audio, I keep bringing up the graphic audio. Even in the graphic audio, she just sounds like a fucking Anyway, but whoever did her voice, you did a great job. Anyway, I think in this moment she's using her powers on Violet. Remember, Kat's power is to heighten the emotions of others, so Violet's jealousy is just on fire right now. But I like what Violet says here, quote, "And are you capable of having a discussion that doesn't revolve around him?" End quote. Exactly, Kat. It's giving desperate. Kat and Violet go at it, and she even insults Violet's mom. Yo, Mira comes in with the quote, "I was going to remind you that's probably bad manners to stab our hostess, but you know what? Fuck it." End quote. I love Mira. Guys, Rebecca, this part had me all messed up. Serena thankfully comes and tells Kat to shut it, and Violet introduces Serena and Mira. And they both have a tense-ish moment, but tell each other they respect each other's reputation. So they all head to the dining room, and Violet notes what Kat is wearing, which is a dress gown, and Kat's hair is pinned up in intricate style, her lips matching the color of her dress, which is red, by the way. And Violet notes how she feels washed out because she left her hair unbound only, but Violet, trust me, girl. Kat got nothing on you.
That's right. Also, it's not about the dress. It's about who is in it.
That's right. Okay, I have to note this part here. Mira tells Serena, quote, "I hear you have an older brother," end quote. Okay, Mira. And then Serena confirms, quote, "You're thinking of Drake. Same last name, but he's our cousin. And come to think of it, you're just his type. He likes women who might actually kill him," end quote. Foreshadowing? We need to meet this man for our big sissy Mira. And Mira responds, quote, "Too bad I don't go for Griffin flyers," end quote. For now.
Yeah.
Mira, if you're like Violet in any way, you're not listening to that. Remember the infamous advice to stay away from Xaden Ryerson? Okay, moving on. Serena confirms that Drake is in the Nightwing Drift in the north along the Bravik border, aka the front line. And oh my god, I want to punch Kat this entire fucking chapter. She basically calls out Violet's hair being plain. Then Violet is like, "I'm gonna kill her." And Taryn says, quote, "It would be a pity to kill her now. I'm hunting 10 minutes away and I'd miss the show. Control it now," end quote. Yes, grumpy Taryn, we will. Violet, you got this. Violet says she's not the one she's picking fights with today, and Kat is like, then with who? Xaden? Kat says, quote, "If you don't already know that he's not the kind of man who gets flustered or loses control, then there's really no hope for you. Save yourself the energy because he'll simply think any fight you pick is childish," end quote. Kat, you bitch. Violet is doubting herself right now, and I know. Violet is literally doubting herself right now and thinking how Xaden doesn't get flustered, especially by her. But then she remembers a certain beautiful memory and how Xaden tells her in that memory how he has never lost control like that. Serena notes what Kat is doing to Violet and tells Kat to give it a rest and confirms that it's been longer than a year that her and Xaden broke it off. At least we know Xaden's telling the truth here. Just saying. Then Violet finds Xaden's gaze. He immediately walks towards her and is mesmerized by Violet. Violet, still doubting herself, is thinking, why is Xaden going towards her when Kat is the, quote, better choice? No, she's not, Violet. Pull yourself together, as Taryn would say. Two dragons chose you and not her. Xaden runs his hands in Violet's hair, the same hair that was plain. Kat, you see that? You see that? Xaden kisses her unapologetically so, right in front of everyone, and this is glorious. Look, Kat, look. That's it. Insecurities gone. Thank goodness. And Xaden tells Violet about Kat's power, and apparently she's powerful. Xaden apologizes to her about earlier and not listening to her. Oh, I love him. He tells her he's been on edge since he found out she was being tortured. And guys, I can't. They break the kiss and join Dracarys. Even though awkward, he calls them out if they'd like to join everyone else. And Xaden even says he isn't going to apologize because he can't control himself in front of Violet. OMG.
And because of his signet, like he felt that from her, that insecurity, and he knew exactly what she needed to put that spring in her step once again.
That's right. And Kat stiffens, thank goodness. Takara says, quote, "So I've heard word traveled fast when you ruined that little war college of yours for her. Split your quadrant right down the middle. Bravo. Been trying to take that place down for years, and you did it in what, 6 days?" End quote. And Xaden says, quote, 5, end quote. Damn, Zaddy. So they are outside in this moment, and it looked like an arena out there. Takara says that Violet needs to hit her target down on the field and says it's a performance. It's a chest they bring out. And then the Viscount tells Xaden that this chest is a chest that he would recognize. It's the one that his father brought to Takaris when they were in negotiations. The agreement is simple. Xaden can't step in and Violet just needs to strike the target. Take it or leave it. Violet takes the deal. Violet heads out for the field, but Mira tells her she's coming with her. Violet is also talking to Xaden mind to mind, asking him what his father was negotiating for, and Xaden replies, quote, "An alliance my father made that I officially denied last year. The chest is priceless. If he wants you to destroy it with lightning, then it is more of a statement about me and less about you." End quote. The alliance is obviously Kat and how Xaden did not want to be with her. Yep. Anywho, the double doors of the chest burst open and bam! Quote, "Distended red veins branch out from bloodshot eyes." End quote. Xaden roars for Violet, and what came out of that chest is venin. Dun dun dun. So what is special about that chest? I know it suspends the venin, but is that all the chest did? You know?
I don't quite know, but I think there has to be some power. Remember, all of the stuff with runes is very powerful. We don't understand runes. We don't know what they do exactly yet, but it has to be something powerful.
And that was the end of chapter 41. Way to end on a cliffhanger. But thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you enjoy our podcast and have a happy holidays. I hope everyone's holidays are amazing, filled with laughter, happiness, and surrounded by loved ones. We hope you enjoy our podcast and had fun. We will be posting a new episode every Tuesday.
Thank you all for listening in, and we hope you do have a merry and joyful Christmas. And for all those who have to work, feel you. I used to work in hospitality. I miss so many holidays and weekends because of it. But once again, I hope your Christmas is full of love, peace, and joy.
Merry Christmas and Happy Hanukkah, whatever you celebrate. Enjoy these next few days and recharge your batteries. We're just your local trio of best friends enjoying each other's company and talking about what they love the most, books. This podcast is so much fun to make when you have the best girls doing it with you. Remember to follow us on @Enchanted Circle Pod on Insta and TikTok, and follow/subscribe to our podcast channel on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, or YouTube. Until next time on the Enchanted Circle Pod.